When the father or even a father figure is missing, what happens to the home and the children? Who teaches the son how to be a man? How does a daughter know what to expect from a husband? This Monday, June 7th, during Family Time, host Tamaya Wilson and guest Jason Downer and Roland Gale will discuss the missing father figure. That's Family Time, this and every Monday at 5:30 p.m. on the Family Station, Love 101.
Hey, don't move a muscle, don't move a muscle. It's time for Family Time right here on Family Radio Love 101.
You can also tune in on YouTube Live and on the Love 101 Facebook page. Now, Family Time is about your issues and your relationships. We are your at-home family. We're your community family, and we are your global family. Family Time is produced by Family Life Ministries, and our aim is to enable healthy families, which will lead to a healthy nation. Stay with us, listen in, and join in. I'm Tamaya Wilson. Now, when the father, or at least a father figure, is missing, what happens to the home and the children? Who teaches the son how to be a man? And who teaches the daughter what to expect from a husband or how to be treated by a man? Is developing healthy male-female relationships hampered by the absence of a father or a father figure? Could our mothers benefit in any way from having father figures present? Today, Jason Downer and Roland Gale are our guests, and they are here to help us explore the issue of fathers and father figures, especially their role and when they are absent from the home and the life of the child. But before we speak with them, here's what we want you to do. Tell us, what are your expectations of a father or a father figure? WhatsApp and text your voice notes to 876-997-3125. Please don't make the voice notes longer than 30 seconds. You can also post your comments on the Love 101 Facebook page, or you can call the studio lines at 876-968-8327 or 876-968-8328 to participate. Now, throughout the program, we will share your thoughts. Our topic again is the missing father figure. We'll be right back.
Young G. Oh, you see my number? Well, duh. Nah, man, me just switch my number to Flow. And got 30 days of unlimited data to do everything plus a free LTE SIM.
30 days unlimited everything?
Yeah, man. Plus, there's more. After 30 days, I can activate any plan to continue enjoying unlimited YouTube, social, calls, and text to any network.
We need all of that too.
Yeah, you need to switch to Flow and keep your number. Visit your nearest Flow store today. Conditions apply.
Anytime you taste any grace, brothers, me and my friend, them a fi bust dance moves. A fi run good the pot when me granny a boy school. Raise food products, now that make it go down smooth. The taste can lose you. Fuel the vibes anytime when the beer grace foods from the ends. Yeah, the taste can lose you. From the spices move you. Everybody shout out, grace food sweet because good bad guys we love. Good taste can lose you. Grace bringing the food you love.
It's your vibe, your mood, or your appetite, like the taste of grace.
Life comes at you fast and it can hit hard. Apply for the Credit Union Prepaid MasterCard from C&WJ with chip and PIN protection. Need a card with a personal line of credit for emergencies? We have that. Need a card you can use to shop online for that must-have item? We have that. The community and workers of Jamaica Prepaid MasterCard. All the convenience of a MasterCard. Discover the benefits of belonging.
Why not fill your empty nest with a child in need of a loving Christian home? Ask Family Life Ministries about the For the Child Foster Care Program. Call 876-816-0889 today. This message is brought to you by Family Life Ministries in partnership with the Child Protection and Family Services Agency and Nairn Family Homes Canada. A message for born-again Jamaican Christians. We were once lost, enslaved to the flesh, used and abandoned by the world. But God the Father so loved us that he sent his Son, Jesus Christ, to rescue us. And now we've been adopted into his family for eternity. We have an identity, an inheritance, and a mission to seek out other orphans for the Father, the Son, and us, the redeemed family, to rescue. Find out how you can serve the great commission of caring for a little brother or sister in distress. Ask Family Life Ministries about the For the Child Foster Care Program. Call 876-816-0889 today. This message is brought to you by Family Life Ministries in partnership with the Child Protection and Family Services Agency and Nairn Family Homes, Canada.
101. Our topic today is the missing father figure. And as my guests and I discuss this, we want to know, what are your expectations of a father or a father figure? Or call the studio lines at 876-968-8328 or 8327. Now, throughout the program, we will share your thoughts. With us this evening are Roland Gale and Jason Downer. Reverend Jason Downer is president of Men of God Against Violence and Abuse. He's an author, father, husband, teacher, and dorm manager at Jamaica College. He has his own story of having a father who spent many years behind bars and knows very well the challenges of growing himself up to be a man and a father. Roland is a Christian who is married to Trisha, his best friend, and they have a 9-year-old son. He too grew up without a father, but he'll tell you that he had father figures. Roland is an entrepreneur who loves creating things and tackling challenges. He is actively involved in his church. Good evening, gentlemen. How are you today?
Thanks for having me. Bless up.
Hey, good evening, good evening. Thank you so much for having me. How are you, Jason?
Bless up, Roland.
Yeah, man.
Hey, good to have you both. Now, according to Wikipedia, a father is a male parent of a child. Besides the parental bonds of a father to his children, the father may have a parental, legal, and social relationship with the child that carries with it certain rights and obligations. But besides the biological, what's the difference between a father and a father figure? So who's going to take that one today?
I'm going to throw to Jason. Go right ahead, bro.
That's in my short.
Speak up personal.
It's interesting that nobody has really ever asked me that question. I want to believe that a father figure doesn't necessarily have to live in the home, just like a father. Nor in terms of a father figure doesn't necessarily play the role of raising an individual, right? So I don't expect a stepfather to be a father figure in the sense of from outside looking in, and I want to take it maybe from that angle. I believe if you're in the household, whether it is that a father is not just biological, it can be through adoption or any other form of informal, put it that way, informal form of arrangement. But a father figure, in my mind, is not immediately a part of the family setting, but exemplifies certain, characteristic, etc., traits that a youngster, whether it be male or female, can look up.
Yes. Okay. So in your definition, the stepfather would be the father.
The father.
If it's a uncle that don't live at the house, then the uncle would be
a father figure. Yeah.
Okay. Roland, you want to chip in on that? Chime in?
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, man, I'm hearing you.
Yeah, I tend to agree with Jason. It's just that I would ask you to rephrase a question if you can, because that term father figure may have different kinds of meanings. So if you could you tell us a different way that you would ask that question? Not father figure, but father something else. Father proxy, father substitute.
Hold on now. You have in your mind how you want the question phrased. So rephrase the question and then answer it for me.
No, I'm not trying to do that. Honestly, I'm not trying to do that. But it's an interesting question, and as Jason said, I've never thought of it before. And to ask what's the difference between a father and a father figure makes you kind of wonder about the difference between something that's real and something that is fake.
Yeah.
But why fake? I prefer proxy.
No. Yeah, right.
I prefer proxy.
Right. So a father proxy or a father substitute in a way could be just as good or almost as good, but it's just that it's not the authentic or the real thing. It's not the real father, but it is a father who perhaps fulfills certain roles that are necessary and therefore is beneficial to the child. And that's kind of how I'm thinking it through. So to me, it's almost like asking if you want 6 or you want half a dozen. It may be the same result, but you phrase it differently. And I don't know if that makes sense, but that's how I think of that question.
So to come in on the tail end of that, Roland, can a woman therefore be a substitute father or a proxy father or a father figure?
All right, so you put that to me now, and I'm going to say that you may find, well, you know me, so you know that the answer directly, no. The answer I'll tell you is no. And the reason why I say that is 6 bananas and half a dozen bananas are the same thing. But 6 mangoes and 6 bananas are different things.
Okay.
And why am I saying that?
Yes.
I'm saying that because a woman can offer certain things, but she can't offer other things. And if you flip the script, you can't have a man who mothers thoroughly because you're just not designed to do that, in my opinion, by our Creator. We're not designed by our Creator to do that. What we are designed to do is to fulfill a particular role or a particular function. And you have to have something similar doing that. You can't have something different doing that, in my opinion.
Okay. So Jason, I'm going to ask you now, what are the things that
you're going to make me answer that.
Yeah, you have to let him answer because I'm not answering for him.
You feel differently, very differently than Roland?
Certainly not. A woman cannot father, a mother cannot father a child.
Right. So what is it that a woman cannot, that a father does that a woman cannot do?
All right, so let me just try to explain this very quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, growing up, I've always heard a lot of women say they're about mother and father, and even children even saying it. I used to say it even up to like, say, 15 years ago. And I used to often wonder why. No, because the role of a father was defined as provider and protector. And with the Jamaican context where you have well over 80% of the household led by single mothers or grandmother, when the father is not around and he's to provide and he's unable to, yet the mother is doing it, she's saying, well, I'm providing, then I'm playing the role of a father. Or even protecting, bullying, the child comes home complaining, the father is not there, so the mother has to get involved. Well, I'm playing the role of provider and protector, so I'm the father. But we recognize that the role of a father also includes nurturing and modeling. And let's zero in on the modeling. A woman can't model how to be a man. You know, and I hope I can say this, she doesn't have penis. I hope that, you know what I mean? When it comes down to certain aspect of the male anatomy, if you want to get very practical, she has no form of first-hand experience where that is concerned. Right. So in terms of modeling of positive masculinity, she can maybe guide or facilitate, but she cannot first-hand give experience. And so that's just a practical way of separating the two.
Is there anything you want to add, Roland, to the way?
I agree with him 100%. What I would also add is that there are traits that by and large each gender would embody or would have. And those traits may be stronger in some and weaker in others, but those traits are basically male and female. And you can't genuinely pretend to be a man if you're a woman. And you can't genuinely pretend to be a woman if you're a man. You can't, if I have a daughter and I'm trying to raise my daughter to be a good woman. It's
Yes.
difficult. It's very difficult for me to go through all what that is necessary to bring her up that way. And if I am a man with a son, and I'm trying to raise my son to understand how women operate and how they go through life, he's only going to get half of the picture. He's not going to get the whole thing, maybe not even half. And so I agree with Jason. When we're talking about what is necessary for a child, what is necessary in a family, we have to look at it holistically. There are families and there are children who turn out fine with only one parent, but the truth of the matter is, the ideal is that you have both, because each has a very, very critical role to play.
So what do you believe God's intention was when he created the father, or the role of the father?
Wow.
I'm throwing it out for either of you.
Roland, it up on the floor, man. Go on through.
Man, what was God's intention when he invented the father?
It's not even was, still is his intention.
Yeah.
It's his intention, yes.
I think his intention was to present an image of himself that would be so capable of guiding and taking care of the world. When God created us back in Genesis, he said that we are to tend. That's what he told Adam to do. Tend the garden, look after it. We were supposed to name all the animals. We were supposed to engage in exploration. Men are supposed to do that sort of thing. And then as a helper that is suitable for us, he also created women. And so I would say that women have a similar but different role. Tending, but tending in a different way.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's important to note that where father is concerned, when you come on to the crime and violence, social ills, if the whole thing of a mother could father me, just backtracking a bit, worked, then we wouldn't see our crime and violence, the rate as high as it is, we would have the level of social ills, because the number one predictor of all of these point back to fatherlessness. From Genesis, we see the importance of a father in the home, especially where affirmation is concerned. And statistics points to the fact, or there are data to show what happens when a father is not present. And present doesn't necessarily mean physical in the home only, because fatherlessness does not mean that he's absent. What it means is absent. Right. It means the absence of quality relationship needed. So it is not just being there and just provide and stuff, the emotional support, and as I mentioned, the affirmation and things like those help to create a well-rounded child. Very important to point that out.
Can
you share some of the statistics? Well, I want you to share some of the statistics, Jason, but I heard Roland coming in, so I'm going to let Roland
let me see if I can
share some of the things.
Yeah, he's going to look up some statistics on that. And
I'm going to try to find some.
Yeah, I was doing something recently. I was writing something recently. And one of the things that I recall seeing is a statistic that said, here in Jamaica, it is 1 out of every 9 murders is a woman. The rest of them are men. And if you think about that for a second, every murder that occurs in Jamaica, if a murder occurs 10 times, 9 of them are men.
Yeah.
And back to what Jason said, that's really because we do not have a good model in Jamaica of what a man is about, how a man responds to conflict, how a man responds to not having his own way, how a man responds to being disrespected. Things like that are so important in how we change our society, how we raise our children. Women need to know that they are not supposed to be treated like garbage. Boys need to know that they are not to treat women like garbage. Things like that are absent. Go ahead, Jason.
And I must put this in terms of what is happening with gender-based violence, intimate partner violence, domestic violence, which are all different. What the absence from it boils down back a lot to conflict management. And because that is not in the home again, a part of the role of a father to model managing conflict between a man and a woman, what you find is our youngsters, especially our males, are growing up lacking in emotional intelligence and self-regulation. So the simplest thing, they fly off. And it spills over in wider society with regular men warring with men. Now, let me just point to the statistics, some of the statistics that Dr. Michael Coombs from National Association of the Family did some research. Watch this. 8 out of 10 youths who grew up in prison is from fatherless homes. Fatherless
in prison?
Yeah. So 8 out of 10 youths in prison grew up in fatherless homes.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Fatherless daughters are 9 times more likely to be abused.
Oh, man.
7 out of 10 teenage murderers grew up in fatherless home. And again, for our listeners, don't just think of fatherlessness as daddy just being absent. And this is a big thing for the church. A lot of Christian fathers are present, but the quality relationship is absent because we're busy, quote unquote, doing ministry. I won't go any further with that. 9 out of 10 gang members.
Rewind that, Jason.
I think you need to touch it because guess what? This is Love 101.
Yes.
And some of our listeners are Christian and maybe we need to face the truth.
No, man. And I'm going to say it's one of the reasons why it seems like the church is losing our moral authority because we're not dealing with the issues involved. And so we're trying to guide a society when we ourselves have some serious mother and father wounds. We have a lot of men in church. Mark here, we have less men than women. But the men who are in church are so busy doing ministry externally that they're busy and absent from the lives of their children. You know, and it's something that we need to take stock of. We cannot effectively impact others if our own children are going astray. That's why we have so many pastors' kids or ministry leaders' kids. By the time they touch university, there's a disconnect. You understand? All right, so let me go further now. 9 out of 10 gang members grew up in fatherless homes. Fatherless children are 11 times more likely to exhibit violent behavior. 8 out of 10 rapists are from fatherless home. 7 out of 10 high school dropouts are from fatherless home. 7 out of 10 teenage pregnancies are to children from fatherless home. And I'll stop there for now.
Yes. And I know that there are some people out there who may say that correlation doesn't equal causation, but with correlation rates that high, it does put on us this pressure or burden to dig deeper and see that something is happening that we need to address.
There's a good thing though, you know.
Yeah.
And that is that we have seen, in light of the data, we have also seen improvement in father presence in the home. Because men are now becoming more aware that their role is very important in terms of the family due to the technology age that we're living in. So I must make that point as well.
Yes. Now I want to talk about before I talk about it, I just want to remind our listeners that the question this evening is, what are your expectations of a father or a father figure? Please WhatsApp with text and voice notes not longer than 30 seconds to 876-997-3125. Post on the Love 101 Facebook page or call the studio lines at 876-968-8327-8. All right, so the present father is physically there, but is a harmful father. So the father is whether abusive verbally, physically, sexually, or otherwise. When is it better for a father to be missing? When would it be better? Boy, better me never have a father.
Wow.
That's a rough question, you know. That's a rough question. And I would only say that we would have to take each case on its own merit.
Yes.
I can't think of a blanket answer to that because it can vary in so many different ways. You can have a father who is doing something that you don't even notice the impact of it until later on.
Yeah.
And it could be a negative impact later on. Whereas you may have a father who is doing something wrong right now and finds it in himself or through the grace of God changes and becomes something more, or the child even grows out of it and becomes better because of what was being done. So I don't know if I can find a straightforward, simple answer to that, but I would listen to Jason and hear what he adds.
I can say this, that sometimes separation is needed from the physical home. And I'm going to use presently the buzz, what is happening now. The term toxic masculinity versus positive masculinity. And things, for example, of abuse of the mother, not just verbal, but serious physical abuse. And I'm not going to be conservative in saying the father must remain in the home. That does serious damage. Serious damage. And so for me, as a counselor, I possibly would, not even possibly, I would recommend a separation in terms of space there. And understanding also that even though the separation has taken place, it doesn't mean that your role has ended. You understand? Some things are now limited until you deal with self. If it is that you're in a home and you recognize that you're being abusive, you are abusive and you actively seek help, I would maybe stand more of a chance in saying, yeah, maybe you can stay in the home. But even then being treated, I would separate. I am not going to say pray about it. I'm not going to say let's fast about it. Only I'm going to say let's do that while you're not in the space. Because the data doesn't lie. It's damaging. And there are many people now who are successful, who consume themselves, use the pain to fuel them in other avenues. But when it comes down to their personal life, because of what took place at home, they're damaged goods. And so I would say cases of domestic violence, separate yourself.
Okay, so once mother is being harmed, or the child is being harmed, definitely we need to protect the child and the mother.
Oh, definitely.
Okay. Now, let me just get to my next question. Why are fathers going missing? Is there something that they're afraid of?
Rolando.
I have to laugh at that one. My word. Yeah, I guess some people are afraid of different things, and some people have never actually understood what is being asked of them. And so they flee. They genuinely flee because they don't know what is being asked of me. What am I supposed to do here? And they are not equipped. They don't have the tools to try to approach it in the way that they ought. And so, yeah, that's probably one reason why people will get out of there. That's what I say.
I'll say this. Again, information out there and data. Put it this way. Many fathers themselves weren't fathered, and so they don't understand what the role is. And what I find is many men who fathers were not playing their role effectively. When you approach them in a non-condemning manner and reason with them and show them, hey, do this way, you find that they step up to the plate. The next thing also is not that men flee, it's that mothers, a lot of single mothers, push away fathers because they tie in being a good father to how much money you give. When the truth is that, even, in my opinion, that's not even the main duty of a father. You have no right as a mother, if you're listening this with all humility, you have no right as a mother to separate or prevent a father from seeing his child. And I will say to you as a father, if it is that you're being forced or withheld visitation from your child, you know, go to the right channel, to the courts to fight. That is where I blame fathers. Giving up too early because the mother won't allow you to see the child. And the next point I will mention is Dr. Herbert Gale made mention of data pointing to 1 in every 4 men. I know this is a Christian platform, but it's a reality. 1 in every 4 men has a jacket. So do the maths where that is concerned. And so those things help to push a lot of men away. So, and of course, as I mentioned, the whole thing of not being fathered, they don't know how to be a father. And so we need, especially as a church, to get in the church first and by extent filter out to reach our men to teach them the role of father.
Yeah, just one thing to add to that though. There are men who, even when the woman is embracing them and asking them to participate, they still run. And so we have to understand why that also happens as well. And it goes back to them not being prepared, not understanding what is expected and what they must do. So even women who would be engaging and inviting participation, sometimes those fathers get out of there as well.
Okay.
Commitment too is a major factor.
Commitment.
So we're going to get back to that when we return, because it is 6 o'clock. And listeners, this is Family Time on Love 101. produced by Family Life Ministries. Have you answered our question as yet? We really want to know, what are your expectations of a father or a father figure? Tell us by WhatsApp text and voice notes not longer than 30 seconds to 876-997-3125 on the Love 101 Facebook page, or call the studio lines at 876-968-8327 to participate. We are also on FB and YouTube Live. We want to hear from you. Don't go away.
A message for born-again Jamaican Christians. We were once lost, enslaved to the flesh, used and abandoned by the world. But God the Father so loved us that he sent his Son, Jesus Christ, to rescue us. And now we've been adopted into his family for eternity. We have an identity, an inheritance, and a mission to seek out other orphans for the Father, the Son, and us, the redeemed family, to rescue. Find out how you can serve the Great Commission of caring for a little brother or sister in distress. Ask Family Life Ministries about the For the Child Foster Care Program. Call 876-816-0889 today. This message is brought to you by Family Life Ministries in partnership with the Child Protection and Family Services Agency and Nairn Family Homes, Canada.
Many of our brothers and sisters lose hope when diagnosed with HIV. Some lose their will to continue being a part of society. Others are despaired by the challenges of keeping up with their treatment. We understand. But remember, people with HIV live normal and progressive lives every day. You can too if you get back on track with your HIV treatment. Live for you, live for someone, live for something.
Get back on track, get back to life.
A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Honor thy mother and thy father. You mean even when they have abused and abandoned me? Even when they don't love me? How do you honor parents who mistreat and ignore you? Join Pastor Hero Steve Blair and guests, Pastor Dean Smith and Minister Valentine Rodney, as they discuss part 2 of the topic, Thou Shalt Honor, on The Rock, Tuesday, June 8 at 10 a.m., right here on Love 101 FM, the family station.
Why not fill your empty nest with a child in need of a loving Christian home? Ask Family Life Ministries about the For the Child Foster Care Program. Call 876-816-0889 today. This message is brought to you by Family Life Ministries in partnership with the Child Protection and Family Services Agency and Nairn Family Homes, Canada.
I want to go on campus.
Hey, Campusites! We love making you a part of the family. And because we do, we've designed Tuesdays at 5:30 p.m. just for you. So be sure to tune in this Tuesday for Campus Connection as we have a chit-chat with some uncapped heroes. We'll highlight Campusites who are assisting other students in their communities who are unable to access online class. You heard right. We'll chit-chat with a 14-year-old boy and a 23-year-old female student who are in school but are helping those who are unable to attend school. How cool is that? That's Campus Connection, and you don't want to miss it. It happens this Tuesday, June 8 at 5:30 p.m. right here on the family station, Love 101.
Young people that got on campus. Oh Lord, that's a one. Campus Connection.
Welcome back to Family Time. It is 6:04 p.m. and this is Family Time is brought to you by Family Life Ministries, and you are tuned to Love 101. Family Life Ministries provides counseling for people with all kinds of challenges from all walks of life. Listen out for numbers in Kingston and Fort Moore. We'll give them at the end of the program. Remember, we are FB and YouTube Live. So tune into the program via Love 101 Facebook page or the YouTube channel. Roland Gale and Jason Downer are our guests this evening. Jason is president of MOGAFA, Men of God Against Violence and Abuse. He's an author. His book is called Fathering Behind Bars, his own story of having a father who spent many years behind bars. And Roland, also a father who put without his birth father. Our topic is the missing father figure. How does it contribute to the dysfunctional man-woman relationships and violence in general? We want to hear from you. So we're going back to our discussion, gentlemen, and I want us to talk about what happens to the family when the father goes missing or is missing.
Hey, if I can.
Go on through, man,
to-
Roland. Go on through, man. Go on through.
One of the first things that I see happening is a breakdown in our understanding of God, our understanding of Christ, our understanding of the whole matter of who we are to worship, why we are to worship Him, and how He plays a role in our life. Because when the Father is missing, that critical component that lays a foundation for interacting with our Heavenly Father is missing. In my opinion, too many of us don't know really how to interact with God because we have never interacted with our Father. And to me, that's the primary and critical thing. Following on that, you have issues with men. How do they respond to other men? Women, how do they respond to men? Because there was not a father figure there to give them some guidance and show them any of that sort of thing. And it kind of just snowballs from there.
Yeah, the whole thing of, a lot of times we look at the impact of father from the home on boys, but our young ladies too suffer a lot.
Yeah, man, definitely.
A lot of the young ladies who you hear of getting involved with older men, a lot of it is as a result of a father wound or a sense of searching for. I think, the first man in a child's life, a daughter's life, should be her father. And the level of communication, the relationship he has with the mother, and also the relationship he has with his daughter, is what now that daughter in growing up, having a sense of confidence, not being very giddy-headed when she gets a compliment. As it relates to, I give you a perfect example, my daughter who looks like 16-year-old, but she's 12, she's very big in her body, and she's very conscious of it, and so it affects her self-esteem. I now have to pull alongside her as a father and say, no man, you're fine, oh, God made you, Daddy loves you just the way you are. Help her to be assured of that fact, so that when other persons, and it doesn't necessarily have to mean an older man or quote unquote a pervert, but when the negative messages, when the negative much comments are made, she has a sense of confidence because she was affirmed by Daddy. So I think that's a major part that we miss out on, the father absence on the child. Also, for example, there comes a point some psychologists believe that at some point the daughter gets attracted to the father, and so the mother becomes like her, a competitor. And right there now, when the father recognizes that the daughter going through puberty, he can now say, no, you don't lie down on Daddy like that. Things like that, and set boundaries. She will begin to learn. There you go. And so that is a vital component. All right.
Wow, thank you. So you touched a little bit on what happens to the daughter. What happens to the son when the father is now on both? What happens to both the daughter and the son? In terms of relationship building, in terms of them understanding their own rules. What happens when father is missing?
It's the same thing, I can talk from my own experience as someone who grew up without the father in the home. And there is a void. In many ways there is a void. And that void, you try to fill it with something or doing something or by going and seeking some way to fill the void. And as a young man without a father in the home, you look around and you say to yourself, what male models am I seeing out there that look like they work? And you're going to gravitate to the ones that look like they work, whether they really work or not. And so to me, that's a critical factor when you're discussing what happens with young men who don't have a father figure. One example I'll give you, And I guess I'm going to keep going back to church. One example I'll give you is when I was growing up, I looked at church and I looked in my church and I looked around and I saw some solid men in there, but it was probably 2 out of 10 in the congregation. And the way I would see the women behave, the way I would see the women worship and so on, I'm thinking to myself, that's not how I'm going to do it. That's not my life. That's not what I see as being a manly thing to do. Okay. And there were just a few men around who could do it. When you go out of church and you see how men who are successful behave, when you see how men who appear to be successful carry themselves and what they have and what they do, it makes it so easy to leave church.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have a comment from Monica Giscombe from Windsor, Rio Grande, Portland. She says, good evening to the panel. I'm enjoying the program. Thanks. She said, I grew up 3 children without a father around. All 3 of them grew up educated and respectable. 2 of them are in government job and 1 is living in America from they are babies. From they are babies, I teach them to hear when I talk to them, and they grow up in church. 2 of them are boys and 1 girl. Bend the tree when they are young. I'm trying to pick up. Bend the tree when it's young, because when the trees get old, it cannot bend again. Right? I am very proud as a single mom.
You know, 2 things to that, and big up to you, mommy. Big up to you. And, one other thing is, and I even have to say it to my mom, who raised me for the most part, myself and my other siblings. But I must say this, a lot of times we need to understand, respect to you mothers, that the village exists still. One can say it was more evident then. So what do I mean by that? So you alone as the mother in the home and you're raising your children. The barber played a role. The male PE teacher played a role. The pastor played a role. But because they're not in the immediate surrounding, you would not know the messaging that was sent to that young man in dealing with certain things. Maybe even in the barber chair, he was having certain conversation and the barber redirect him in a positive path. Maybe at church, he was thinking about sex a particular way, and the pastor said, listen, I got married when I'm a virgin and X, and redirected my certain path. So we need to understand that the village exists, okay? Back to a point that you made about the role of the father, his absence, what it creates in terms of the family, both girls and boys, sons and daughters. Karsten in his book, The World Needs a Father, based out in South Africa, identified that between 0 to 5, 6, the most influential person is the mother. That means the father must play that supportive role. Between 6, 7 to 12, the father now switch role not switch role, but become the most influential. Between 13, 14, 15, the peers are the more influential. But the fact that the father was there, he would have developed what is called moral authority. So that whether daughter or son going through puberty and having his hormones all over the place, the father pull alongside him and say, son, this is how I dealt with it, etc. to steer him. The daughter, the puberty, the same thing, the peer influence. Daddy, who always was there, will not pull alongside her and say, daughter, I know what is happening. She can come to daddy like my 12-year-old and say, daddy, I have a crush on this boy. And she can come to me because that trust is there. And I can talk to her. Who is a boyfriend? And have that conversation. She watching television and she see condom. Daddy, what is a condom? She have that access. So the lack of access to daddy creates them to go and explore. And that is the danger on both sexes.
Very dangerous.
Yeah.
And I just want to put in a little plug right here, is that a lot of the times, because we're in this a very virtual space,
right,
our children are able to search for information without the guidance of an adult, like we used to have to do. So if I want to know what condom is, what menstruation is, etc., as a child, I have to go talk to a teacher. I go to the library. If I go into the library, I have to ask an adult for the book.
Yes.
Right? And so you can be properly guided. Now what is happening is that children just go and type and they ask Google and they ask Siri and they ask Alexa and they ask everybody.
Fingertip.
And Alexa and Google don't know that you are only 12 or 8.
Right.
And the kind of information that must come up must be for an 8-year-old, and that the 8-year-old don't want to see every single thing else that might be related, or the slang words that might come up. And so
Excellent
we
point.
have to be so careful about how we allow our children to use the devices. And then it's a device with the father then.
You're so right. And that raises the point that the father is also like a gatekeeper. The father is the one who laid on across the threshold and said, nothing coming in here that going to hurt my child. And that is one of the roles that he has to play.
Yeah.
Just like the shepherd that is blocking out the wolf. We have to do that. And we have to ensure that we play that role.
And I want to appeal to mothers. One of the things I realized surfacing is mothers allow fathers to father.
Yes.
And I'm going to say it's one of the things that cramping us as a society. That even though mother and father maybe not in the home and the child grew up with the mother and the father played his role, co-parenting, a lot of times discipline is shielded or prevented from taking place because of the mother. I'm not knocking your mothers, but we just a point to a reality that allow fathers to father. And if we have that happening more consistently, I believe we will see a better future for our youngsters.
Jason, I'm going to ask you to expound on that a little bit. When you say allow fathers to father, what do you mean?
Let me give you a perfect example. Especially young men, or especially our boys, and I have to point to that because of the data again, pointing to boys being the main perpetrators. We know females, but mainly our boys. And I believe that if we save our boys, we save the family. I firmly believe that. Now, let me give an example of discipline. Sometimes is it that a youngster does something and the father now wants to meet out discipline. We don't have punishment, but discipline where the child can learn from. Because the child now shows some form of displeasure. It irks the mother who carried this child for 9 months, among other things, to know that her little boy feels some form of displeasure, and sometimes she steps in to prevent. All right, nobody going no further. You understand? So instances like those. And so the father must be allowed to speak to the son in a firm manner. We're talking in a controlled way, we're not talking about second nature and hitting and all. Right? No, we're not talking that. We're talking, there you go. It is very important. And mothers must step back and allow. And I find that for those good fathers, a lot of times, let me tell you what happens. I'm in the high school setting. A lot of mothers now are finding out and asking for the father to come and deal with their son. Come and deal with the son, come and misbehave. Deal with him now. And what happened is there was no connection before.
Exactly.
So there is rebellion taking place. But if another example is the father might be outside, typical, I have twin, a 5-year-old, outside playing. And my wife is overprotective. Mothers sometimes smother. If he's playing in the dirt, mind him catch germs. If he's climbing, no, make him climb. No, and I'm saying.
Hey, Jason, it's true thing you're talking, If him pick up one drop. No, if you pick up one drop, no more ramping for the day.
Tama, you know what we're talking about.
I know what you're talking about. But you know what? This is why I think both the mother and the father are important in the decision.
Very important.
Yeah. It has to be a balance.
And it's not that what he's saying doesn't make sense, Tamaya Freeze. It's not that what he's saying doesn't make sense, So when we're having the child out there playing outside the uncle bar, and the mother said, be careful, that helps us as a father to not make the child go too far in play. But at the same time, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, of course, but at the same time, we have to calculate the risk. We have to allow them to understand that you will feel if you don't listen. Excellent. And therefore, you just have to keep going. And the balance is necessary, but there has to be some amount of risk that you allow for learning to take place.
Even physical play. Even physical. You play too rough with him.
And next thing you know, he might come to play rough with you back, and you're like, yeah, that's.
Why not fill your empty nest with a child in need of a loving Christian home? Ask Family Life Ministries about the For the Child Foster Care Program. Call 876-816-0889 today. This message is brought to you by Family Life Ministries in partnership with the Child Protection and Family Services by the World. But God the Father so loved us that he sent his Son, Jesus Christ, to rescue us. And now we've been adopted into his family for eternity. We have an identity, an inheritance, and a mission to seek out other orphans for the Father, the Son, and us, the redeemed family, to rescue. Find out how you can serve the Great Commission of caring for a little brother or sister in distress. Ask Family Life Ministries about the For the Child Foster Care Program. Call 876-816-0889 today. This message is brought to you by Family Life Ministries in partnership with the Child Protection and Family Services Agency and Nairn Family Homes, Canada.
All right, listeners, I am so sorry about that. And when you're in this virtual space, the laptop just died on me. I'm so sorry, but I am back with you and we're back with the discussion. So, Roland and Jason, talk to us about that balance that the mother and the father bring. You know, because I understand, you know, because I've said to some of my friends who, whatever, the pity them going starve because I'm not going to make them eat foolishness. Listen. I'm tired. If it's popcorn and peanut butter, them going to eat the popcorn and peanut butter. They're not dead. And so I leave them with daddy and make daddy father, as Jason would say. So a lot of mothers are overly concerned about these things. But having the mother there might be that little nudge that the father needs to remember. Make sure that them drink water when it's summertime now. Make sure them drink water. And so that balance is important, you know?
Excellent. It's such an excellent point, because the truth is too, you know, as father, I know about me. When my wife goes out for whatever reason and she come back, when the kids are, you know, shower and get ready to put on clothes, they're highly mismatched. So there are some things as fathers, boy, you know, but equally it's true. You might find with some fathers that when the mother goes out and come back in, the children tend to be, and again, not knocking, and maybe a bit more orderly because they can't get away with certain things from daddy. And sometimes the opposite is also true. Mm-hmm. But while you were off, Roland made a very important point that the balance, again, it speaks to the ideal why God wants a husband and a wife. Ideal situation. Mother, father in the home. Yeah, man, it helps. It helps.
Yeah.
It definitely helps. And I'm thinking about all the times when my wife has left me to take care of our son. And I decide I'm not going to fight the little battles. Yes. I'm going to fight the battle that I think matters. Yes. And so things like he don't feel like him ready to eat yet. I wait until him come and tell me say I'm hungry. I'm not going to run him down to go eat.
Yes.
If I know it's eating time now, and I said to him, "Are you hungry?" and he said no. Well, the next time him eat is when him come and tell me that I'm hungry. So I'm not going to overdo certain things.
Right.
But then on the other hand, there are things that I am going to be very careful about. And if you slip, you slide where certain things are concerned with me.
Yeah.
And I imagine that's how a lot of fathers are. There are things that you don't pay attention to, assuming that the wife will do it, the child's mother will do it. And there are certain things that you pay close attention to because you recognize that's what I'm here for.
That's so true. No, what about the father who is in the home and they leave all the nurturing to the mother? And this is a question from Rosemary in Kingston.
I think Jason mentioned that before, you know, and that causes its own set of problems.
Yeah.
Because you can have a chair in a house and the chair is there and everybody knows the chair is there, but the chair just doesn't offer any comfort, any support, any kind of benefit in the house. And it can be the same way with a parent who is there who don't do nothing. Yeah. And so the nurturing from the father is just as important as nurturing from the mother.
And this is where now, quite possibly, skillfully, the mother possibly has to know.
Encourage.
I don't want to say a proxy father, but continue to encourage the father. If the father doesn't want to step up, if she attends church, maybe speak to somebody from church to kind of play a certain type of role. Mothers, you don't have to be intimately involved with anybody to get a father figure in your life or a positive role.
Right.
And we need to understand that point.
Yeah.
But that's a real situation right there.
Okay, we have some voice notes. I want to play some voice notes there.
They should do. Their father was still around, but wasn't playing the important role. There are three great children in society. Also, the boys are giving back to those that have father, but they are not around. Good topic, I love it. Mel's out of Canada.
Yes, family time. Good afternoon. Yes, I have been planting trees. Didn't get a chance to communicate, but I'm doing it now. All right, I hear the gentleman talking, but my children's father stopped taking care of them long time because I wouldn't sleep with him. And he did not help. As when he go to the place, he did not help. And when them pig him come back, and me alone to see them, and him said one of the cassette and say, you grow them so good. He proud when he come them and rip up his car and something. So sometimes some father don't care about them. Not time.
Have another voice note?
Sorry, could you just give me a summary of what the last lady said? I wasn't hearing her clearly.
She was saying that the father of her children stopped taking care of them a long time ago because she refused to sleep with him. So I assume that she wasn't married to him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he came back around when they were old and said she did a good job with them.
Oh, well, that's good. That's good. That's a good story ending there.
And the truth is that that's kind of typical too.
That happens often. I remember
Yeah,
I had some friends whose father had left them when they were very small, very young, two young men, and he came back when he was sick, and those two young men welcomed him back into their home. That they actually lived together with their mom. They welcomed him back into the home, cared for him until he died. And I don't think that gentleman could have asked for better children,
right?
Even though he had nothing to do with their upbringing. And so it can happen. And kudos, enough respect to women and mothers who can do that, who can encourage their sons and their daughters to have that kind of respect for a parent, even when the parent doesn't fulfill their role.
Yeah, man. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So as we come up to the end, gentlemen, I want to ask you each to tell me what makes you a good father.
Oh man, that's a wicked question. I can ask somebody else.
That's not a question I would answer.
What are the qualities that you think a good father should have?
Okay.
Yeah, what are the qualities a good father should have?
I will say this. A good father doesn't just look out for the well-being of his own children. He looks out for the well-being of children who comes into his space on a consistent basis. And finally, I will say this. Not only a Christian can be a good father. You have other persons of other religions who can be good father. But as a Christian father, you are held more accountable because you are accountable to scripture. All right? So I will just end with that.
Before you move on, can you tell us one thing that you think you are doing well as a father? You must can answer that one.
I try to listen.
Okay.
I try to listen, and that is very important.
Okay, that's your strength.
Active listening. I try. Yeah.
All right, Roland.
Yeah,
what are the qualities of a good father?
I think a good father is somebody who takes the time to teach and demonstrate what life is about, the important things in life. Takes the time to do it in a way that transmit care, concern, and a desire to benefit the child. And as Jason said, it's not only his child, it's children around him. And I think that training aspect of fatherhood is extremely important. Too many of us as fathers forget that we are training and preparing our children for life. It's not a child you're raising. You're raising an adult. You're raising somebody who is supposed to contribute to society.
Yeah.
And before you ask me, one of the things I would say is I probably do well at responding to questions. I try to do that. When my little man come and ask me something, or when somebody asks me something, I try my best to respond in a way that's going to be helpful.
We have experienced that, even with
Right.
the
I was gonna
analogies.
say that Roland is also this very calm, grounded person. So I think, if his son come up with a question that sounds way out there and shocking, you know, for us, hold it down and answer.
And just walk him out. But let me throw a question to you two guys here now. This is a question I got from my son, and when he asked me, I took weeks to try and find a good answer. He says to me, "Daddy, does God love everybody?" And then your answer is what?
Definitely.
Yes, okay. So, Daddy, does God love Satan?
I think time is going.
Let me tell you something. That hold me over now.
Yes, man.
Well, actually, my daughter asked me the other day. Remember that will forgive you if you come and ask for forgiveness. So
Yes.
when come and ask for forgiveness, she asked me that. Just
Oh Lord.
Yeah.
That's theology right there.
May I tell you, man, you have to go walk. You have to walk.
The soon come.
I don't know that one, but let me find out.
and that's it too. As we know, and sometimes it's okay as fathers, and this is very important to say to our children, I don't know, I'm going to find out. That's important. Very important. Just to put that in there.
You are so right.
Gentlemen,
We don't
Jason.
know everything.
Yeah, man.
Jason and Roland, thank you
man.
for being with us. It was a wonderful discussion.
Yeah, man.
One of our listeners, Rosemary, says that we need a part 2, and you get a hail up, Jason, from Joan Dawkins in Connecticut, USA. She said you and I are baptized together at 65 Waltham Park.
Okay.
That's right, 20 years ago. Joan
Okay.
Jamaican visit, you must link up, Jason, all right? So, listeners, thanks for being here with us. If you still have personal questions of your own, call Family Life Ministries. We can help you with the father and team. For our center in Portmore at 117 Cecile Avenue, call 876-939-7917. And for our other councils across the island, contact our head office at 876-920-1034 or 876-926-8101, and we'll connect you. Remember, listeners, if you or someone you know would like counseling on dealing with any issue in family, relationships, or just everyday life, please contact a Family Life Ministries counseling. Note that appointments can only be made by calling the offices. To keep up to date with what's happening with Family Life Ministries and our programs, find us on Facebook at FLM Family Life Ministries, on Instagram at FLMJA, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Family Life Ministries FLMJA. Before we leave you, here are this evening's verses. As a father has compassion on his children, so the Lord has compassion on those who fear him. For he knows how we are formed, and he remembers that we are dust. And that's from Psalm 103, verse 13. I'm Tamaya Wilson. Join us again next week at 5:30 on Love 101, Love 101 Facebook Live, and Love 101 YouTube Live via the Love 101 channels. For other information, for other information on our programs, you can also hit us up there. Thanks again to our special guests, Jason Downer and Roland Gale. They did an excellent job this evening. Thanks also to our show's producer, Kathy Gale of Open Door Communications, our studio facilitator, Nielsen Williams, and of course, you, our listeners. Stay well, stay safe, and stay blessed.
Bring the family back, bring it back together.
not fill your empty nest with a child in need of a loving Christian home? Ask Family Life Ministries about the For the Child Foster Care Program. Call 876-816-0889 today. This message is brought to you by Family Life Ministries in partnership with the Child Protection and Family Services Agency and Nairn Family Homes Canada.